The carnivore diet is all the rage in 2024. Everybody's talking about it, cutting out your carbs, veggies, fruits, and going full on animal based. But could this diet be quietly wrecking your gut health? Let's break down the surprising research behind the carnivore diet and its impact on your gut. Stick around because what you learn today might change the way you think about your diet. Hey there, welcome back to the Arthur Wellness Channel, where we dive into everything gut related. If we haven't been introduced, I'm Dr. Michael Arthur, otherwise known as the Mind Belly Doc, and today we're tackling a hot topic, the carnivore diet. You might have heard how some people swear by it, especially those dealing with gut issues like SIBO, EMO, or ESO, but does this diet really help? Or are we just putting a band aid over a much bigger problem? The carnivore diet is pretty simple. You're eating mostly or only animal products. This means a lot of steak, eggs, bacon, and zero carbs. But what's happening in your gut when you cut out fruits and veggies and all of the fiber that comes with these important foods? First things first, when you cut out plant based foods, you're also cutting out the fiber that your bacteria thrive on. Now, research shows that within just 24 hours of starting the carnivore diet, your gut microbiome could take a hit. You lose diversity in your bacteria even in the first day on this diet, meaning that you have more harmful bacteria and fewer of the good guys. Now, without enough good bacteria, your gut isn't producing as many short chain fatty acids like butyrate, which really help reduce inflammation and protect your gut lining. Butyrate is also used for motility, and many people with SIBO, EMO, or ESO have problems with gut motility, and it's one of the underlying factors as to why bacteria can march backward into your GI system, creating a problem. Now, this can also raise your risk of developing gut problems down the road, like Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis when you're not making enough short chain fatty acids. Well, if you've been battling with SIBO or small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, the carnivore diet might seem like a good idea. A good number of patients come to me already on the carnivore diet and have felt that it was a real quick fix for all of their bloating and gas and belching. SIBO happens when too many bacteria in your small intestine ferment your carbohydrates, causing those symptoms like bloating, gas, and belching. Since the carnivore diet cuts out all of those fermentable carbs, it can reduce bacterial overgrowth temporarily. There's even a small study that found people on a zero carb carnivore diet for 4 weeks tested negative for SIBO. Sounds like a win, right? Not so fast. The problem is that this diet gets old real fast. Even if you're a Barney Rubble or a Fred Flintstone and you want ribs and steak every night, every last one of my patients finds that this diet is not sustainable long term, or they start to have issues like constipation and they want to change that diet. Now, once you reintroduce carbs, just about every one of my patients who put themselves on the carnivore diet will find that their symptoms come right back. And we're not talking a gradual comeback. We're talking swift, immediate, full stop. Ouch. So while the carnivore diet might help in the short term, it's not fixing the root cause of bacterial imbalance, and it is thought to actually create a bigger divide between your good guys and your bad guys, because while it can starve out bad guys, it also starves out the good guys, perhaps to a larger degree, because your good guys really rely on fiber and plant nutrients in order to be healthy and to thrive. I've seen this time and time again while working with patients who have self administered the carnivore diet. Sadly, I had one patient, we'll just call her Mrs. X, who was all but healed from SIBO and had been symptom free for about 6 months when she decided to go on the carnivore diet with her husband, who wanted to lose some weight. Within about a week of eating carnivorously, her symptoms began to sneak back in. First with some belching, following eating, and then later with bloating that consistently hit her within about an hour of her steak and egg breakfast she was having every morning. I hadn't heard from Mrs. X for months until she popped up on my schedule for a follow up. Now, based on her symptoms, we did some testing and confirmed that her gut microbiome had taken a significant hit from the carnivore diet, all but depleting her healthy bifidobacter and lactobacillus strains. Now, we were able to get her back on the fast track of healing, but first steps were to stop the carnivore diet and start reintroducing some fiber to help her keystone species to start thriving again. And I'm not going to lie, it was a hard journey for Mrs. X and a lesson for her to not just jump on the bandwagon with popular or fad diets. Now, you might also be wondering about how the carnivore diet affects other gut conditions like IMO, or what we call intestinal methanogen overgrowth, and ESO, otherwise known as intestinal sulfide overproduction. In IMO, methane-producing bacteria feed on carbohydrates, so removing those carbs can reduce methane levels. Sounds good for IMO sufferers. However, ESO is a completely different story. ESO involves sulfide-producing bacteria that actually thrive on protein. And we're finding that the carnivore diet will most certainly make things worse here. More protein, especially without fiber to balance things out, will increase sulfide production, worsening your symptoms. And don't forget, sulfide gas stinks like rotten egg, clear out a room, don't light a match stink. Yeah, it's hard to hide from the world, that kind of gas. Just saying. So, what's the takeaway here? Fiber and fermented foods are crucial for a healthy gut. Even though you'll need to be cautious with fiber if you have SIBO, it's important to reintroduce it slowly to help your good gut bacteria thrive. Without fiber, your gut can and will become even more imbalanced. Now, aside from the published research that's out there, I can tell you from my very own clinical experience at the Center for Ultra Health with patients like Mrs. X that put themselves on the carnivore diet that I see the negative consequences on their good gut bacteria when we compared their advanced stool sample results prior to the carnivore diet and while eating only meat. I'm not sure who was out there promoting the heck out of this diet, but for a while, my schedule was getting filled with a bunch of Mrs. X's and Mrs. Y's and Mr. Z's that were experiencing negative consequences from the carnivore diet. And time after time, they all had advanced stool studies with the same diminished good gut bacteria and breath studies that confirmed the presence of SIBO or EMO. And what we all learned together was that when we tried to add fiber back in, after being on a carnivore diet for too long, it caused digestive chaos, bloating, constipation, and abdominal pain and cramping. Our data at the Center for Ultra Health actually showed that the effect on the good bacteria was deeper, and the road back to eating fiber was harder for patients who had been on the carnivore diet longer than a month or two. So the bottom line is this. While the carnivore diet might provide temporary relief for some people with gut issues like SIBO, it's not without risks. Over time, it can harm your gut microbiome, making it even harder to reintroduce healthy foods like fruits and vegetables. So before you jump on the carnivore train, think about the long-term health of your gut. And consider for a moment that there are other ways to find relief from your symptoms, including supplements and over-the-counter remedies that we'll talk about in a future video to help. all while not harming the delicate balance of bacteria on the inside of your gut. Remember, healing your gut is a marathon, not a sprint. So if you're considering the carnivore diet, make sure you're working with a healthcare provider who can help you navigate the potential risks. Now, don't forget to subscribe below for more gut health tips and tricks. Your gut will thank you.